Hi, and welcome to our next video in the series on Cisco Packet Tracer. In the last couple of videos, we looked at how we can use a server for different functions. We looked at a web server, and last video we looked at an email server. I'm going to take a look at another one that you might not have heard of, but you actually use it at the school every time you log in. It is called a DHCP server. And here's how it works. Up until now, when we've chosen an end device like a PC, we've had to go in and enter the IP address. In other words, we've assigned it a certain IP address, and that's called a static IP address. And as you can imagine, all the PCs that we have in the school, if we had to do that every time we plugged in a computer, that would take a lot of effort. So somebody's figured out another way so we can make sure that each device has a unique IP address, and that's with a DHCP server. So that's what we're going to show you in this video here. So first thing, we need to go in and add a few devices here. So we are going to go to network devices, and all the devices here are going to be connected to a switch. We're going to have all these connected to a 2960, and we're going to have a router as well. We're going to use a 2911, so we'll use that. And if we go under end devices, you're going to see that we have server here. We're going to choose that one, so we're going to pick server, and that's actually going to be our DHCP server. It exists inside our LAN. So next thing, we need to wire all these devices up. For all these devices here, let's use the quick connection tool. So when you click on this and you go here, this is the quick connect tool. Let's just use that because we just want to do this quickly. You've got enough practice already. You should know how to do this otherwise, but let's just use this to go fast and get all these devices connected. So we've got some PCs, we've got some laptops, we've got a voice over IP phone, we got a smartphone. So there, that's a wireless device. So we'll just leave it like that. Now we're going to connect the switch to the router. So let's do that one manually. Copper straight through is what we're going to use to go from the switch. We're going to use the gigabit port. Let's use the 10/1, and we're going to connect to the router gigabit port 0, or 0/0. We also have to connect our server. So let's go to server and let's connect that to the switch. So it looks like that. Next thing we need to do is configure. So let's go into the router and let's configure the router. So when we go there and we go to config and we go to gigabit 0/0, we need to tell it the IP address. For that port, we're using 10.0.0.1. Click on subnet mask, it defaults to that, and make sure the port's on, so click on, and there, we've configured the router. Next, we need to go in and configure the DHCP server. So we got to click on it, and first thing we need to do is we need to give it a static IP. That one gets set initially right away, so we need to set up a static IP for that device, and we're using 10.0.0.2. Click on subnet mask, and the default gateway we know is this address right here. It goes into that port on the router, so we know that that's 10.0.0.1. We need to tell it what kind of services it's going to provide. It's going to be a DHCP server. So we got to click on that, and we're going to state again here. We'll put in the default gateway again. That's 10.0.0.1. And we're going to turn the interface on so it is active through the fast Ethernet port. So in other words, we're turning on the DHCP server. We want it to supply IP addresses to all the devices in the LAN. Now, one thing we need to do though is we need to tell it what's going to be the first IP address that's allowed. So as the network administrator, you need to know which one or which ones you can use. We're using over here 10.0.0.1 here as the port address here on the router. We know that this here is 10.0.0.2, so we can't use those two. We got to make sure that we use ones different, and that's what this refers to. What's the start IP address? Well, we're going to start at 10.0.0.3, and we're going to use the subnet mask 255.0.0.0, and there, we've configured everything here, and that's it. We can close this here. Now, if we've done everything right, we should be able to go in and see this working. So in other words, I should be able to go into this PC here, and normally we would have to assign it a static IP, but let's see how DHCP servers work. So I'm going to go into desktop, I'm going to go into IP config, and you can see normally we did static and we gave it an IP address. We're going to go to DHCP and see what happens. I'm going to click on this. You can see it's requesting, and it is successful. So it chose 10.0.0.4, which is one of the ones we said it could use. There is the subnet mask, and the default gateway did not show up as expected. So we should go back and check our configuration settings. It should show the proper default gateway for that device. So let's just close this here. Let's go back into this and make sure that we've entered in the default gateway. This didn't save last time, so there's where it is. So 10.0.0.1, and make sure we click save. That's what was missing. So let's go back and let's try it again. So if we go into the second PC and we click on this and assume we brought this into the school, we've just plugged it in and we want to get it started. As the network administrator, we'll go to desktop, we'll go to IP config, click on DHCP, and there it's requesting, and there, it found this one here. It assigned this one 10.0.0.5 subnet mask, and there, it did have the right default gateway. So there, we've set up a DHCP server so that we don't have to manually assign a static IP for each device that we connect in our LAN. It will automatically be assigned IP address when we click on DHCP. So that's it. Try this in Cisco Packet Tracer, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.